Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Meeting Space podcast. I have a wonderful guest today with me, a visionary, creative, artistic. I don't know what other words to use to describe him simply because some of the pictures that I have seen of the events that he created are just leave me speechless. So without further ado, I wanted to introduce our guest today, David Tutera. Hello, David. How are you?
I am wonderful being with you. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, gosh, it is absolutely my pleasure and honor. So thank you for finding time to share your experience with the listeners of the Meeting Space podcast. Before we dive into a few topics that we have in mind for today, I would love to hear from you on how did you began in the industry of event and wedding planning. If you could give us a little bit of history, what attracted you to this business,
Sure.
that would be absolutely wonderful.
I'll give you the short Cliff Note version of it. It was a long time ago. I was 19 years old and chose to step away from the career I thought I was going to be going into and took a break from university and answered an ad to deliver singing telegrams for a singing telegram company, which I wound up doing for a couple months. And the woman that owned it said she was moving to Florida and wanted to sell it to me. Borrowed some money from my grandfather. It was more than I knew I could possibly afford, and it was not a lot of money at that time. And I started a little business in Larchmont, New York, outside of New York City, and I had a little store. It was about 700 square feet and would decorate the window every month just to get the attention of people to come in and order singing telegrams. And that particular month, I had a setup of a table with linens and flatware and chargeware, and I did a centerpiece. I knew nothing of events. And the next morning, a woman came in and said, I would love to hire you to do my son's bar mitzvah. And I thought, well, I don't really know what a bar mitzvah is. And I don't really do parties for a living. She says, no, I love the look of the table. I want to hire you. And that was my entree into an industry that was completely foreign to me. I
Wow.
self-taught myself for many, many years. I made many mistakes and learned from each of them, I hope. And I built this business slowly, very slowly, and it expanded from being in a local community to then migrating to Atlanta, Georgia, then to Washington, D.C. I stayed really far away from New York City because it was just, to me, the scariest place to consider. But, that's 26 miles away. And when I was ready, I then entered into the world of event planning and designing in New York City, and that's where it exploded. It lifted my career.
Wow. From what I've read, you have been in the industry for over 30 years.
Yes, I have.
Wow. I bet you've seen a lot and you have learned a lot throughout 30 years. So, wow, what a story. Amazing. I hear so much of perseverance and innovation and just really conquering your own fears.
It's true. When you don't know what you're doing and you are forced to have been self-taught, you listen really hard to your mind and your heart, and you allow yourself to fail. I think we're all such perfectionists in one form or another. I know I am. And when we do something wrong, we take it very seriously. So, in the way that I built my business, it was done in very small steps. And I will tell you, my education came from my clients. My clients trusted in me to deliver excellence and delivered something that I pretty much didn't know too much about. In fact, I knew nothing about it. So when they asked me to do an installation of a ceiling treatment, or they asked me to set a table setting with charger plates, I didn't know what a charger plate was. I didn't know, why are we decorating the ceiling? So I did my homework. I did a lot of self-exploring into how I can execute something, not to perfection, but at least at the level to what I knew they were expecting. And in time, I learned more and I got more creative and I got more daring. And again, those were small steps, but each step I took expanded the audience because I didn't advertise. I wasn't on TV yet. So my audience was the guests that had been to my last event that I did. And it worked. It really worked.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of grassroots marketing and just going back to the original marketing ways before social media, TV, of just word of mouth, people liking what you created, and then wanting to hire you for their own events. David, tell me a little bit about your planning and design. Um, I wanted to find out what's going on in your head when you start planning an event. I've seen pictures on your website, and those are very elaborate events, very creative. I can see attention to the smallest details. Um, what happens in your head when somebody hires you, those first few moments of Bright coming to you and saying, "Hey David, I would like to hire you to have for you to plan my wedding."
I really appreciate this question. I don't think it's often asked enough. And the insight to my head is probably a little bit chaotic. So, what I do is I live my life and I see things through beauty. So, it could be, a walk literally down my street, I might see something beautifully too. When I lived in New York City for years and I experienced store windows and going into stores and seeing displays and going to a Broadway show or watching a movie or a television show, and things sort of just settled into my mind. I didn't take notes. It was sort of just, I remembered the emotion of how I felt from what I've seen, and I just tucked it away. When a client came to me and said, David, I'd like to have this type of event, I listen really careful to their expectations and I don't immediately reply back with, this is what you should do. I always look at it as if it's almost like a therapy session. They're giving me their insight. I'm going to share with you what I may think might be right, but I don't want to give you too much because I'm not 100% sure my idea is the right idea for who I'm speaking with. So I do these baby steps. It's like kind of dating for the first time. Someone wants to hire you. I don't sign a contract yet unless I can prove to them that I'm the right fit for them. There's sometimes I'm the worst person for them to be hiring. And there's often the times I know that I'm the perfect person to be working for them. And I always say, if you're looking for something traditional, conservative, or expected, I charge too much money now for you to be hiring me. There are plenty of people who can do that with greatness and you can save a lot of money. But if you want something that's going to truly be like you explain, the attention to detail, creating an environment that makes people feel like they have stepped into something they'll never step into again and leave with an emotional memory of it, that's when I know that's the person for me. That's the client for me. So my process is very long. It's not an immediate gratification on this is what you'll get from me. It's a source of sharing intel and bringing them content. And I do my own sketches and I do all my own designs. So it takes that time to educate my client on what I think they're looking for.
Um, I definitely see that in your pictures, in pictures from your events. Let me clarify that. The one that really intrigued me was the Halloween themed dinner,
Yes.
where just I will encourage all the listeners to go to David's website and go to his gallery to take a look at that. I will post the link to your website in the show
Thank
notes. So,
you.
listeners, please go and see David's creation there because it's absolutely amazing. Let's talk a little bit now about, past year 2020, all event and wedding meeting planners, just the whole events industry was turned upside down.
Yes.
Tell our
Um,
listeners a little bit about how did you spend 2020, maybe what you learned, and also let's dive into 2021 and see how we can give the listeners a little bit information of what you actually see happening, maybe how they can execute events currently in a safe manner. Let's talk a little bit about the recent events.
I think there's a lot to cover here, and I want to cover it with positivity because I know 2020 is perceived in a very dark place,
Mhm.
especially in our industry of events and the world in general. So 2020 for me, it stunned me. I'll be really honest. We were in the month of January and February of 2020. We had two of our largest events in our career. And then the last event happened, and then it just, as we all know, the world shut down, the event industry collapsed. And I feel like we are in an industry that wasn't really and still isn't perceived as important enough for us to figure out how to move forward in 2021. But I do want to talk about that in a second. So for us, we created programs, we created content. We started out doing Dinner with David. It was a virtual event to bring industry people together virtually and allow them not to think about what's going on, but give them a moment of an hour entering into our home virtually and giving them a dinner party, a cocktail party, a celebration, a dessert party. And it made people become uplifted. The intention of it was simply to bring the energy of them back up, including ourselves. And then as we progressed, we developed, which I know we'll talk about a little bit later, well, we created a program called the David Tutera Mentorship Program. And that was specifically created for everyone to now learn how to do better business operations, learn how to better sell their clients, learn how to write proper contracts, how to design, how to work with a team of vendors, and then shift that into 2021 when you're ready to open the doors and begin working. So taking the year of 2020 is to become a better professional. Our industry, and I'm not shy about this, I don't think carries the weight of true professionals. And I don't mean as creative professionals, I mean as business professionals. And that is what I wanted to uplift people through 2020 into 2021. I just got great news on my phone today, actually. It was like about an hour ago. A friend of mine sent me a notification that Governor Cuomo in New York has opened up events for up to 150 people in the city of New York City. So that's big. That's big news. And I'm excited about that. And I haven't even got a chance to post it. It literally just came up on my feed. So we're going to start seeing that. We're going to start seeing the implementation of how do we do these events, which I think is the next question moving into 2021.
Yes. I read not too long ago a post of few industry posts of few industry leaders who did share what you just shared, that events industry doesn't seem to be a important industry enough for government officials to
Correct.
take it into consideration. When the restaurants can open up at 50% capacities in some places, where they make those favorable regulations for all other industries but event industry. And it is, you actually have a better way of monitoring safety at a closed off meeting, even if you have 700 individuals, then for 700 individuals come and go from a restaurant taking on and off their masks while eating dinner or lunch. So I truly share your point of view there. And it's been a very hard year, 2020, and I appreciated what you said, that the industry collapsed. It hasn't been said that way yet. At least I haven't seen it. I've seen people talking about the world shutting down, as you mentioned, and what impact it had on event and meetings industry. However, no one yet put it in a simple format as the event and meeting industry collapsed. And that's exactly what happened. Meetings and events became non-existent for last few months. And from what I'm gathering, a lot of people are still afraid. So let's go into 2021 and how we can move into 2021 with safety in mind, but also with face-to-face events in mind.
Yes. We're actually hosting an event March 21st, 2nd, and 3rd,
I
which is the
saw that.
David Tutera Experience. And It has been canceled 3 times. So it's a conference that we do every year. And it was supposed to be in 2020, and it got shifted 3 times. And finally, we just said, okay, we're going to move it to 2021. And
Mhm.
as 2021 in the month of March is coming upon us closely, we took 2020 to really understand two things: the proper protocol, the proper protocol on how to create a safe environment, not just for the vendors, but also for the attendees and for the level of those that choose to come and feel comfortable knowing these surroundings are safe. So that took time because 6 months ago, people didn't have an answer. 5 months ago, people started to have an answer. And now, just up until recently, we have solid content where we are allowed to bring all of these attendees into one location. We're in fact doing one of the education sessions is by someone that literally has created a program to provide safety for events moving forward in 2021 and 22. And we're implementing those protocols in the entire program for 3 days of education and events in the evening. So it's the way the food is served. It's making sure we're actually going to be doing rapid testing when the attendees arrive. We have, masks on hand. We have sanitizing on hand. We're making sure that every day people are getting fever, temperature checks. We're doing everything that we should be doing. In fact, we're doing everything that restaurants should be doing, and they're not doing that. So we're actually 20 steps ahead. Our industry now, after saying the industry's collapsed, has a position. We have a position and opportunity to rise far above from where we were before and become leaders in how to bring people together on all levels, not just for events.
Wow. It sounds like you and your team have done your homework, and the conference that you are mentioning about here, the precautions and the safety that you are implementing, that is the David Tutera experience. Is that correct? And it's going to be in Orlando this March. And then I believe in September, you are planning that up north in Rhode Island,
We are
correct?
going to be in Newport, Rhode Island in September. So we have shifted now to 2 a year. You said it perfectly: Florida in March, Newport, Rhode Island in the fall. And then we have two amazing picks for 2022, which we're not announcing yet, but we're really excited about it. And listen, the community, the attendees that choose to go to the experience have always left feeling uplifted and have been given the strength and positivity to be better versions of themselves. That's been the past 4 years. Well, this year and moving forward, we want to do that and more, because we feel like everyone has been brought down to a halt,
Mhm.
and we need the joy. We can't create joy and magic and beauty and creativity if we've lost it inside. I know it's hard for myself at times, so we want to be able to spread legitimately the intel, the excitement, the knowledge, the creativity, the passion, all of that at the experience, which is really important.
Who would be your ideal attendee for the David Tutera experience?
We have found that a majority of the people attending have always, first of all, they attend globally and domestically, and they are typically event planners, event designers, owners of companies. It could be a stationary company, an entertainment company, people that own venues arrive as well. And our educators on the stage are across the board. Some of them are not in the industry of our industry, but they're coming in with a knowledge to uplift us with more education. It's just, I can't say how proud I am of what we've put together more, because the 2 days of education are packed with really brilliant people. And I curate that team all on our own. And then the evenings, each of the events are standalone events that people get a chance to sit back, still learn, because it's produced and designed by myself and the team of experts locally, but they leave seeing things that they typically would not have seen ever in the past. So it's pretty magical, and it's changed their lives, I have to say, and they've made wonderful connections with other people in the industry.
Wow. Um, is the registration still open since the
It
March
is.
is around the
It
corner?
is. We literally have 5 spots left. I think it's 5 or 4 spots left, and We usually get them filled up right before the end. So if anyone is interested in being part of the David Tutera experience, it's very simple. Go to davidtutera.com on the website, top menu bar. You can just drag down the experience, and it gives you all of the information and registration. It's also where you'll find the mentorship program as well.
Great. I'm glad you mentioned mentorship program, because that was my next question. Sounds like that program became a result of 2020. Talk a little bit more in details about that program and how it is being implemented. You shared already few details on it, but let's dive in a little bit deeper. How can one benefit from attending that program? How does one qualify to be in that program? Talk a little bit about that.
It's really, I have to say, this was, as you said, built out of the year 2020. So when my husband and I, Joey, developed this program, we did it for a variety of reasons. One of them being we knew we needed to do it, and B, we also felt that people needed a voice to continue them through the time that we're in. But the mentorship program is a 12-month program. So when you join in, you can participate to join in and pay monthly, or you can pay in full. It's whatever. There's multiple options on payment. But more importantly, you get a lot from this. You have access to myself. We do 2 live calls a month. One is a topic conversation. It's on Zoom. We archive all of the videos. So if you miss, you go to the library on the site. You can watch it as much as you want. Like the one coming up that we're doing next Wednesday is about how to close the deal, and then we do one on, how to implement a strong contract. We talk about design, creativity, how to be a better planner. There's several different topics. There's 12 topics, one per month, Q&A once per month. There's an area where it's what's called Ask David. You can directly go onto the portal and ask me questions directly, and I answer them to you if there are any questions about your business. We do website reviews for everyone that wants to showcase their website. I share with them the things they can do to change them, to get a better footprint of what their business is, and get people interested in hiring you through your website. We do a lot of surprise entertainment, we do a virtual happy hour evening. We include them in all of the projects that we do that they can participate in, because we take them seriously as members. And we're here for them. I mean, we legitimately are walking them through almost daily on how to be a better version of an expert, an industry leader. Here's the best thing. The stories we have gotten now, if you think about this, they've already been in the program about 6 to 7 months, 8 months. We have owners of companies who have contracted the largest deals in their course of their career, the largest planning fee, the largest design fee. These people are learning and growing because they're putting the time in. We can give you the tools, but now you have to take the tools out of the toolbox and build your business, and that's what we're doing.
Wow, sounds like a very comprehensive program for anyone who wants to grow their business and get an advice from an expert like yourself to better themselves. Again, grow their business, grow their client portfolio. That might be one positive thing that came out of 2020, at least for you, is that mentorship program. How did you come up with that idea? Did it just one day you woke up and you had a light bulb over your head, or was it a sequence of events?
I think it was actually, to be really, really honest, sitting there going, well, what am I going to do right now? Because our events have all been postponed. All of them have been pushed. None canceled, but all pushed to future dates. And I thought, I need to keep myself creative, active, and learning. So we looked at each other, my husband Joey and I, we looked at each other and said, let's come up with a program. We didn't know it was going to be called the mentorship program, but we realized, wait a minute, 30 years of the industry plus, I guess I am a mentor. So now all of these mentees are learning. And it was really just built, literally probably sitting in our pajamas, drinking coffee, going, what can we do? What could we do, A, for business income, but B, more importantly, how to help people in this industry? Because I know if I was in their place, I'd be going, oh my gosh, how am I going to make money and what am I going to do and how can I prepare for tomorrow?
Yeah. I bet that there was a lot of people, especially small business owners in the event and meeting planning space, like myself, that have actually struggled with finding, a way to pivot, realign, readjust, whatever word you want to use, in order to bring some income to their families. I'm super glad to hear that something positive came out for you and for others from that moment of being completely startled by the pandemic. Um, you have obviously worked with many celebrities. You have been featured in a lot of TV shows. You have your own TV show. um, I wanted to ask you a question, just out of curiosity, because I bet that our listeners will also wonder, what was your most memorable event? And you don't need to say names, but what was your most memorable event that you have planned to date and why?
Oh, it's an easy question. I can answer it because it was our wedding. It was the wedding that I planned and designed for my husband and myself, which will be almost 4 years ago. And it was, I always tell people, when you're a planner and a designer, you should probably not do your own wedding. Um, but we did, and I had so much fun. And I don't think I've ever had so much fun at a client or someone else's event as much as I had at our own. So that would have been my immediate answer, but my other answer prior to 4 years ago was when I did my aunt's wedding at our home in Connecticut. And that was a magical evening, very different type of wedding, but the evening was magical and romantic and intimate. And that was my always go-to answer to that same question. So I have an A and a B answer for that.
That's amazing. So let our
And everyone, by the way, I don't mean to cut you off. Everybody always assumes he's going to come up with some great celebrity that he worked for.
Oh, of
You
course.
know what? It's not my thing. I'll work for them, but it doesn't make it better or more fabulous. It's the heart and the connection and what you do and create for the people that are there. That's what it's about. Not who it's for, but about what happens at the event.
That's amazing. That's a great, um, business motto and mission, business vision to also have and live by and do business
Yes.
through. Because very often we get caught up in all the who and names and all of that. But what I'm hearing from you is the experience and what you actually, that emotional connection to what is actually happening at the event. I must say that for me, I will remember. I will not maybe remember the flowers or the utensils, but I will remember the emotional connection that I had to the event. So I totally hear you there. What's next for you? What's next for David Tutera? What is on your plate right now, besides of course the conference just around the corner?
Well, the conference, the mentorship program will go on and be wonderful and it's successful. And, we're working on another television show. I just finished writing another book, which is out to sale right now to be published. I can't really talk about it, but I can tell you it's a very unexpected book from me. Um, Personal, emotional, incredibly sensitive and important for people to read, which I'm excited about that if and when that happens. And we continue to, on a daily basis here, we continue to work on what we have been working on for over 12 years, which is the brand, the product lines that are in retails and, 2020 was a real halt to that industry as well. So now we're starting to see the movement of retailers and buyers looking to see David Tutera product on their shelves for their consumers. So that is a big project because that's a beast. I mean, that is an ongoing thing. We also are launching. I can't give too much information on this right away, but it's a program that will be online for consumers. It's not industry based; it's consumer based, and something that I think I know it's never been done, and the way we're doing this is just a smart way to be able to pull together an event on your own, and it's for a consumer that may not be able to afford a planner, but certainly can afford to create the beauty and the experience on their own with the tools and with the right content.
Wow. Sounds like a lot. It sounds like a lot
It
on your
is. It's a
plate.
lot. It's yes. I look at my lists and my notes on my desk and I go, okay, I got to get to some of these or all of these at one point, and we're all doing it here, so it's important that we just stay focused and stay positive. I want to say something real quickly because you brought up a comment just a couple minutes ago. When we're doing events for our clients, and it's like you said, it's the emotion you create and the experience you create for the guests. I always remind people in our industry, it's a simple saying. We have to love what we do. We don't have to love our clients, but we have to love what we do for them.
Mhm.
And if we can always remember that, because often people in our industry get very frazzled and upset when a client may not behave properly towards us or over expect from us, or you know basically get disappointed if something was not what they expected. Again, our job is to love our job. We don't have to love our clients. We have to love what we do for them.
It seems like that would be especially important um, in the industry where you are planning that one day, that one special day of that
Yes.
person's life, um, and people can get carried by emotions. They can just, because it is such an important moment, and might not be a real true reflection of their own self. So I have never heard that before, what you just said, but it definitely is ringing a bell in my head about few things that I am currently facing. That my job is to love my job, and I do that very proudly, and I know that I have a passion for what I do. If we are going back, my last question to you will be: you have mentioned at the beginning of our conversation that event and meeting professionals are not always seen as true professionals. Expand a little bit on that, because you stroke a chord with me there. And as um, I have 17 years of experience in the hospitality industry, where I worked conventions and events, and I also have experience with weddings, but I did it on the venue side. I was this on the supplier side. Now that I'm on the meeting and event side, I'm seeing so much connection of the event professional to all those different business, all
Sure.
those professions where it is perceived as a business professional, but not necessarily the event industry. So I want to hear your take on it.
Well, I know we won't have enough time for this answer, but I'm going to give you sort of my Cliff Note versions. Every
Yes.
time I step on a stage and do speaking appearances to our industry, I do it in a kind way, but I remind everyone that you can wake up tomorrow and say you want to be a wedding planner, an event planner. That's wonderful. I may want to wake up tomorrow and, be Lady Gaga. But if I can't sing, I can't do that. Right. So, you learn how to do things by being educated. And I'm not saying there's a specific form of education, whether it's university or a mentorship program, or you want to be a singer and take vocal coaching. You need to improve the ability and and learn and get the expertise of the knowledge to craft who you are and what you do. I have found, unfortunately, more consistently, there are too many people right now in our industry, more so than ever, that have woken up one day and said, I'm going to leave my 9 to 5 job and I'm going to be a wedding planner. I'm going to leave my 9 to 5 job that I have a good career and get great money, but I want to be creative and be a meeting professional or an event planner. What do you know about any of this?
Right.
So if you can at least spend the time to become educated on the industry and then step into it, you're elevating our industry. Others that are coming in with no knowledge and are causing confusion and chaos for all the consumers now begin to see that, wait a minute, there are a lot of people who call themselves event professionals who know nothing about what they're doing. And then there's the other equation, the other side of the equation, which is if you are unable to be organized, and trust me, there's a lot of people just because that's their characteristic, they cannot function with organization. This is the wrong industry to be in. Or hire someone to work for you that is micromanaging you and organizing everything so every moment of a detail of an event goes smoothly. And I see not enough of that. And that's what concerns me. And that's what makes me see I get sad about the industry because we can elevate ourselves so much better. And sometimes I feel like we're going a little bit in the opposite direction.
You bring up a good point here, and for me, I know that when I joined the meeting and event planning force, I suddenly saw, oh my gosh, this is just like procurement. This is just like marketing. This is the event professional in their own work. They combine a little bit of different things from different profession, and if one is willing just to educate themselves a little bit on, let's say, strategic procurement, they can suddenly be very successful in sourcing, finding venues, knowing how decision making is done, how to do cost analysis and compare different vendors. Either you are a wedding planner or meeting planner or event planner. Having some kind of knowledge of one part of some other industry, I find is always beneficial
Mhm.
in the event and meeting planning, and I would assume in wedding planning as well. And all it takes is just building up on that,
Correct.
and maybe creating one niche that's what you do, and then expand. So yes, we could go on for next 5 hours on that, but I'm glad you brought that important aspect to the conversation, because that's, I would assume that in wedding planning, it's seen a little bit more than in maybe a corporate event planning
Yes.
or association. So I hear you on that.
Thank you. And I do hope that whomever is listening to us today understands that I'm not putting anyone down. I'm trying to elevate everyone.
Yes, I,
And
I
that
think
goes
that
across the
you.
board.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that everybody will get that from your conversation. David, listen, thank you so much. It's been
Of course.
absolutely an honor and pleasure to have you on this episode. I wish you all the best of luck with, well, not necessarily luck. I wish you all the success that is coming your way with the
Thank you.
mentorship program, with the David Tutera experience in Florida, in Rhode Island, and anything else that you set your mind to do. I'm anxious and excited to see your book out. Believe me, it will be on my bookshelf. So thank you for mentioning that. And
Thank
it's been
you.
an absolute pleasure to chat with you
The
today.
same. You're wonderful, prepared, and kind. And speaking to someone with kindness makes the conversation that much more enjoyable. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of the day. And for the listeners, tune in to another episode of the Meeting Space podcast. We will have other exciting guests. The show notes today will have David's website as well as registration link, link to the registration website where you can register to his 3-day experience in Florida. And should I assume that September registration is open, or will that
Yes,
become open?
that's also open for Newport.
Perfect. So you can register for either Florida or Rhode Island. And thank you again, David. It's been a pleasure.
And the same. Thank you.
Thank you.